Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Believe in best.
Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up in our news tonight, a man is dead following a police-involved shooting. Major housing projects planned for 2022. The Bahamas Christian Council faces criticism, and what passengers think of the new U.S. travel policy. Good evening, Bahamas, and thanks for joining us for our News Weekend. I'm Georgie O'Bain, topping news tonight. A man was killed during a police-involved shooting after 3 this morning. According to police reports, officers were responding to reports of a man in possession of a firearm at a business establishment in Nassau Village. Upon arrival, officers say that they approached the man who fit the description. That's when he drove off despite attempts by police to stop him. The suspect crashed into several parked cars, according to police, who say that the suspect then exited the vehicle brandishing a pistol. That's when officers opened fire, killing the man on the scene. The matter has been forwarded to the coroner's court for an inquest. And over on Grand Bahama, a man is dead following a hit and run on Queens Highway in 8 Mile Rock. According to police reports, the driver later returned to the scene after he noticed the damage to his vehicle. EMS personnel were called and pronounced the man dead. Investigations are ongoing. The Housing Minister JoBeth Colby Davis is expected to travel to several family islands, including Abaco and Eleuthera, to identify possible properties for the housing development next week. She said that she is hopeful that these projects can begin in the first quarter of 2022.
Spoke about it in my contribution about some of the infrastructure work that has to be completed in Carmichael. That's just fairly there, and so we can possibly see that one and well on its way for getting homes constructed. There are a few other properties that we've identified throughout New Providence. We're going to be taking trips this week to Abaco, Grand Bahama, and Eleuthera to identify some properties there.
Apartments and homes rented from the government will get a facelift in the coming year, according to the Minister of Housing, JoBeth Colby Davis, who said that many of the government's properties are not up to standard.
Right now, what we're trying to do is make sure that I'm not a slum landlord and fix some of those homes that we now have under the ministry's
Affordable housing?
Yeah, well, not just the affordable housing, the rental facilities that we have, where persons are renting from the government and living in these apartments, but the conditions are not really good. And so that's what I've asked my technical team to pull, and we can look at the conditions and how we can get those repaired, and so the conditions can be livable.
Colby Davis added that some of the new developments will also be used as temporary housing for the Ministry of Social Services.
I've spoken with my colleagues, Minister of Social Services, and he wants to partner with housing to build a little bit more of them. So social services can use as temp homes for 3 months, 6 months, as opposed to the 7 days that you normally hear them saying they can only provide for housing.
The housing minister said she is also working to address the current backlog of applications.
Over the last 4.5 years, no homes have been built. And so, therefore, if you had people applying from pre-2017, then all of those applications just sat there because there were no houses to put them in. So what needs to happen is, first of all, I need to build some houses, and then we can respond to the applications and then new ones that are coming in as well.
Well, amid public outrage over the death of 4-year-old Bella Walker, some people have called for the Bahamas Christian Council to be more vocal on the issue of child protection. However, BCC President Bishop Delton Fernandez insisted that they are working behind the scenes.
I think it is sometimes hypocritical. They punish us when we speak, and then when they perceive, if you go to our Facebook page, we had a statement up. We don't control the opportunities we have to speak to join public. But here's what we promise you. We do. So while you're on social media talking, pastors have already been mobilized, and I've already been there and spoken. This is what we do. While others talk, the church is always on the ground.
Christian Council President Bishop Delton Fernando responding to critics who suggested church leaders have been relatively quiet in the wake of the death of 4-year-old Bella Walker. One person questioned whether the Christian Council is now irrelevant, while another suggested that the group only appears to speak out on certain issues. Fernando said it's not just up to the Christian Council to take a stand on troubling matters in society.
It's all of our duty to protect the vulnerable amongst us. The Bible has always challenged the church to look after the poor, the indigent, those that cannot help themselves. And so as a community of faith, we are heartbroken, we are distressed that a 4-year-old would have succumbed to an assault and later die. As a community, we have to look at ourselves, we have to look at what we're producing and what we're becoming and make changes that make us better, and changes that don't allow these horrific things to take place.
He added it is his hope that the public will hold lawmakers' feet to the fire to effect real change.
If we want to see change, we must remember that our elected officials are really employees of we the people. And if we really are passionate, if we're really serious about change, we will put enough pressure that change takes place. It has to be collective, that we can't ask a politician to do something we are not willing to do. So if society rises up and says enough is enough, the politician would have nothing else to do but enact legislation, which is their job. But then we would have to carry out the legislation and then become the community that we used to do, that it takes this village called the Bahamas to protect and raise our children.
Lines at ticket counters bobbed and weaved at Lynden Pinling International Airport as the new U.S. travel policy took effect this week. All international travelers entering the United States must now be fully vaccinated and test negative at least 3 days before travel. While some passengers say it makes them feel safe, others complained that the wait time was very long. Although COVID-19 vaccines are now required for travel to the U.S., that wasn't a motivating factor for Timothy Knowles.
Just to take it to travel. I travel a lot. I'm still young, but I travel a lot in my days, so traveling for me is not really a priority. I get order everything or send for everything, you know what I mean? But like I say, because I'm a man of God and I pray about everything, I just get.
Representatives for some airlines said that they had to turn away a few passengers who either did not have a test during the required time frame or could not provide proof of vaccination. American passengers must only have a COVID test to return home. This U.S. citizen who came to the Bahamas to visit relatives said the new policy is a headache and predicted that it will impact travel numbers until more people get vaccinated.
Pretty much an inconvenience, really, because it's like you have to dedicate certain amount of time out your day to get tested and stuff like that. So luckily, I mean, the rapid test comes back quick, but you know, some people don't have that luxury. So if you have to do a PCR, it takes a couple of days time, so that can really delay things in your trip.
There are still lots of unknowns for Grand Bahama. Given the tough economic times and ongoing hurricane recovery, there's a move to try and make the island a hub for technology. But in order for that to happen, there needs to be the right investment in digital technology and a willingness. Our Jerome Sawyer explains in this report.
For 5 years, Alive has had a growing presence in Grand Bahama. But it was Hurricane Dorian which really cemented their relationship with customers.
We were caught in the storm and we needed that service, and that came straight through for us, straight through.
After the storm, when I was able to contact my family to get me out of my house before it flooded, it became of great importance to keep up with their reliable service.
This event at the Lucaya location was the mobile company's big give back for 5 years of customer loyalty. It was then on to the business community and the Grand Bahama Chamber of Commerce, where the conversation was about the future of digital, ironically on an island dubbed the technology capital.
By the end of the year, a lot of what we do now will be digital and on the phone, and we need to encourage Alive to continue growing their base, growing their technology, so that we can meet up with this, because there are some new changes that are going to be coming out very shortly.
But are businesses here ready for the next iteration of digital technology?
So we've always innovated. The question is the population willing to innovate with us? So any you see a Sprint, a T-Mobile, or Rogers are doing. We have the capacity to do it on our network that Tracy designed, but it's the appetite there for the community.
If Yes Alive says they're ready to answer the call.
They are a mobile company. We're not a mobile company, we're a communications company, and that's where we position ourselves to move forward.
Well, still to come on our News Weekend, could Christmas come early for law enforcement officers? 152 immigration officers move up the ranks. And the Bahamas' bounce back could be good for investments. The details after this.
Get that glorious internet connection back in business within seconds with the new self-help modem reset. Just follow these very easy steps. Step 1, call 601-2200 or 242-300-2200. Number 2, select option 3. Step 3, select option 2. Step 4, enter your 8-digit account number. Step 5, follow the prompts. It's really that simple. Rev, you and us together.
More than a month after immigration officer Keith Bell suggested an honorarium for law enforcement officers, he hinted that officers could be paid by Christmas. In September, Bell said that the dedication displayed by officers during an unprecedented influx in illegal migrants was commendable and should not go unnoticed. He said that the discussions with officials at the Ministry of Finance are to determine what can be done.
It all depends on the finance and my talks with the different stakeholders in respect to what is available and what we can do and how far we can do it.
Maybe early next year?
Well, who knows? We may have a very, very beautiful Christmas. And we're doing our best.
September saw an influx of more than 1,000 Haitian migrants in the wake of unrest and an earthquake in Haiti. Despite pushback, the migrants were housed on Inagua before repatriation. 152 immigration officers received promotions this week. Officers from Exuma, Eleuthera, Abaco, Bimini, Inagua, Andros, and New Providence were promoted to the ranks of Grade 1 Immigration Officer, Grade 2 Immigration Officer, and Chief Superintendent. Prime Minister Philip Davis says that the government worked swiftly to clear the backlog of promotion applications, including those submitted 4 years ago.
I challenge you to continue to go beyond the call of duty in providing efficient and effective service to this nation, as your role is critical to the continued social advancement of this country. As Prime Minister, I wish to assure you that moving forward, my government will conduct regular reviews for promotions in all areas of the department. No longer will you have to wait years to be promoted for doing an excellent job.
Davis also promised proper succession, planning international courses for staff, and completion of the medical dorms, and the establishment of a marine unit for the immigration department. Well, the Bahamas is quickly bouncing back as a top tourist destination in the Caribbean, and investors are taking notice. According to Chairman of the Caribbean Hotel Investment Conference and Operations Summit, Paris Jordan, he said despite the pandemic, the Bahamas has proven itself as a viable tourism development and a prime destination for eager investors.
All know that globally the world was impacted by COVID and hospitality especially, and specifically in the Caribbean, which is highly dependent on tourism, on hospitality. But what we've seen is in the most recent months, we've seen an uptick, a tremendous uptick in terms of demand, in terms of people traveling to different Caribbean islands, including the Bahamas. And part of the reason for that is there's a lot of pent-up demand. People want to get out, people want to travel like they did before. There has been an increasing number of people being vaccinated. There's been the loosening of restrictions by different governments within the Caribbean and also governments from the source markets where people come. And then that led to a strong summer season, driven mainly by leisure, pent-up leisure demand, primarily from the American customer, because a lot of Americans have been traveling to the region.
The two-day seminar showcased the Bahamas as a viable tourism development, advancing strong potential investment interest from targeted companies and increasing awareness of various tourism investment opportunities. The Chicos Conference returned to the Bahamas for the 10th anniversary edition and was held at Bahamar.
The first Chicos Conference was actually started here in the Bahamas back in 2011 at the Atlantis. So in celebrating, we took it all over the different Caribbean islands because it goes from different islands every year. And we just felt it was right to celebrate and bring Chicos back to Bahamas. And then a lot of our attendees, including myself, wanted to have the conference not only in the Bahamas but here at Bahamar, since it's a new hotel, and everyone's been excited to be here.
When our news weekend comes back from the break, the government approves thousands of dollars in funding to tackle social ills. The details when our news returns.
Get that glorious internet connection back in business within seconds with the new self-help modem reset. Just follow these very easy steps. Step 1, call 601-2200 or 242-300-2200. Number 2, select option 3. Step 3, select option 2. Step 4, enter your 8-digit account number. Step 5, follow the prompts. It's really that simple. Rev, you and us together.
This is our news weekend. Welcome back. The organizers of International Men's Day, National Women's Week, and Zonta's 16 Days of Activism will be working together to heal the Bahamas through the better relationships that the group's aims to tackle mental health to men and gender-based violence. Zonta President Marcia Mason-Smith says they have seen an increase in reported cases of violence during the pandemic.
16 Days of Activism, that we talk about it, but this is a national conversation and a national debate. We, through Zonta, seek to empower women through our ongoing training and development. We have recognized that there's so many unskilled women who are unemployable, and that is something that we need to help provide the impetus, the forum that we can help develop them, give them the self-confidence, give them the self-esteem that they're able to vision what a better future is going to look like for them and their children.
A peace and prayer rally is scheduled for November 16th in the Angliston community, followed by a pinning for parliamentarians and a backgammon tournament for men. Each organization has a list of activities on their respective websites to promote their cause. The Ministry of Social Services has approved $45,000 in funding for each cause. Grants up to $3,500 will be awarded over the next few weeks.
If you're an NGO that is dealing with young men and boys, please contact us at 397-8600, ask for Mr. Johnson, to talk about the program that you want to do in your community. If you are wanting to partner to address the better relationships between women and girls in your organization, call us at 397-8600. Talk to Mrs. Elaine Sands about your organization and what you want to do. And of course, if you want to address violence, call us at the same number. We are here because we recognize that each and every one of us can do something, but you might need some money to do something.
Well, up next, how you can help the Bahamas Girl Guides reach their fundraising goal. That's coming up. Stay with us.
Get that glorious internet connection back in business within seconds with the new self-help modem reset. Just follow these very easy steps. Step 1, call 601-2200 or 242-300-2200. Number 2, select option 3. Step 3, select option 2. Step 4, enter your 8-digit account number. Step 5, follow the prompts. It's really that simple. Rev, you and us together.
Welcome back to the R News Weekend Edition. As the push continues for Bahamians to get the jab, the Bahamas Girl Guides Association is also encouraging more fully vaccinated individuals to get their uniquely Bahamian Vax cards. The initiative is a huge part of the group's effort to raise funds for their new headquarters. Assistant Chief Commissioner Elmer Garraway says that they've made progress, but they still have a long way to go.
We need $800,000. The elevator alone is $165,000. So we still need the support of every person in this country who understand the important role of the development of girls and women for the progress of a nation. The way in which a family operates to a large extent will determine the way in which the country and its culture will progress. And that's what we've been doing for 106 years last month.
Hurricane Dorian and the COVID-19 pandemic have hindered fundraising efforts over the last 2 years. However, construction has continued and Garraway is hopeful for a 2022 completion.
We are trying to complete the first and the ground floor and the second floor. When we ended it in 2019, of course all the outside and the roughing would have been completed. Now we are putting in walls, we're putting up our sheetrock on the walls. The contractor will be dealing with the electricity, with the plumbing.
Garraway called the Vax Card program an answer to their prayers.
The Vax Card project, it is an absolute answer to the prayers of the Girl Guides Association to find a consistent source of funding to assist with the completion of our new headquarters building. This building originally started in 2017, but the fundraising started many years ago.
On behalf of the entire RTV team, we'd like to congratulate this week's winner of the True Bahamian Treasure Hunt. Well, thank you so much for joining us for our News Weekend. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Georgie O'Bain, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow evening. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.